Yeah, that was Adam Emil with Lost and Found right here on WoodyCDUnderground.com. You're inside the Mind of Med Radio. I'm your host, Big Med, and this past Sunday, ESPN put out a documentary that was executive produced by Jalen Rose, former NBA basketball player Jalen Rose, and former Fab Five member. And the documentary was about the Fab Five of Michigan. And all around you hear how great that documentary was. I'm one of the people. Thought it was great. It was great watching it. And I was real young during the Fab Five days, so it was just good to kind of see the history of the Fab Five again. Because as they said, some people say that at the time when we were kids, that the Fab Five were almost bigger than Mike because there were, young kids just taking over the basketball scene, So it was really good to see that. But during the doc, there was a part where Jalen Rose talks about how much he just dislikes Duke, hates them. This is what he thought about Duke and the black kids that went to Duke.
For me, Duke was personal. I hated Duke, and I hated everything I felt Duke stood for. Schools like Duke didn't recruit players like me. I felt like they only recruited black players that were Uncle Toms.
That set some people off. What do you mean by Uncle Tom? Because at the time when Jalen Rose was playing against Duke, Grant Hill was there. So now everyone's thinking, okay, Jalen Rose is calling Grant Hill and Uncle Tom. So he had more to say during the documentary about Grant Hill specifically and what his issue was with Grant Hill.
I was jealous of Grant Hill. He came from a great black family. Congratulations. Your mom went to college and was roommates with Hillary Clinton. Your dad played in the NFL, was a very well-spoken and successful man. I was upset and bitter that my mom had to bust her hump for 20 plus years. I was bitter that I had a professional athlete that was my father that I didn't know. I resented that more so than I resented him.
Yeah. So after the documentary was aired and everyone was loving it and people were talking about that, Jalen had to come out on ESPN and talk about, kind of had to squash the whole situation of what he thought about, why he thought about it, and the reason why he was calling black kids that went and played for Duke Uncle Toms. This is what he had to say on First Take on ESPN.
17-year-old recruit, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was an inner city kid from the public school league that was waking up, using kerosene heaters for heating the house, boiling water to wash up, sleeping with hoodies and scullies, that at that time I felt like I wasn't good enough for certain stages. That's just a fact. But also it was something I used as motivation. Now I understand what their program represents because I'm a mature adult. I know that it's a private school. I know that they do recruit players from well-to-do, affluent families. But also, I understand some of the reason why. So that they don't see some of their players selling goods for selling their rings, selling their goods for money. Also, they want to get kids that are going to represent the program the right way. I get all of that. But that's the minority. I was speaking for the majority, and that's exactly how I felt then.
Yeah, so after talking about that and talking to my friends about it and everybody else that I know about it, we came to the conclusion that he was right in a certain aspect that at the time, even now, you see people that, Duke kids are soft. You know what I'm saying? Duke is always soft, don't really like Duke. And you always wonder why, guys from the city or, any black people would want to go there. So it wasn't a new thing that Jalen was talking about. It's something that's been talked about And it just, for some reason, set some people off. Now, the Uncle Tom reference, for me, I always thought of an Uncle Tom as somebody who just kind of pretended not to, well, didn't care about their race. Didn't care about the race. You know, would rather be part of a different race than their race, and made it known. Never really used the term Uncle Tom that much, personally. Chris, for me, I'm a suburban kid. Plain and simple. Live in the suburb of Chicago, 2 parents, all the whole 9. You know, you hear the term, you know, you're not really a black person, you talk white, all that other stuff. You know, so I wanted to ask this question. What is your definition of Uncle Tom? And what is your definition of a real black person? Because I can tell you, growing up, when you have kids like myself that grew up in a predominantly white area, and then you hang around certain areas that there's predominantly black people, of course they can tell that you're not from the hood. And they let it be known that you're not from the hood. And they try to tear you down from not being part of the hood. So I almost thought maybe it was a jealousy thing, but it did affect me a little bit when I was a kid. You talk white, you know what I'm saying, why you talk like that, oh, you bougie, you're from, the suburbs, all the other stuff. It used to bother me, and then at one point I just said, well, I really don't care, you know what I'm saying? Are you jealous that you didn't, have the opportunities that I did? Who knows? So my question to you is, to anybody that's out there that wants to partake, is what do you think the true definition of Uncle Tom is, and what's the definition of a quote-unquote real black man? All right? You can hit me up, 312-564-7370, or you can hit me up on Twitter, @BigMed, or Facebook.com/BigMed. All those ways you can use to get at me. All right? It's your boy, Big Med, WindyCityUnderground.com, home of the JR Bang Morning Show. We'll be back.
You're listening to WindyCityUnderground.com, your music, your station.
Whether you're blending households or a first-time buyer, Jackie Green, an array of elegance interiors, Chicago's South Loop can help.